I was 28, living in a cramped apartment in Pittsburgh's South Side, piecing together a living as a freelance writer in the fall of 2024. My parents, both stubborn Midwesterners from a small Ohio town, decided to visit me for a week, eager to see the city and drag me to the Strip District's famous marketplace. They loved the chaos of it, vendors shouting, crowds jostling, the smell of grilled sausages and fresh bread. But what happened that week at the marketplace turned our trip into a nightmare, a creeping horror that still clings to me like damp rot. I haven't been back since, and I don't think I ever will. It was a Saturday morning, gray and drizzly, when we headed to the market. My mom was thrilled, clutching her reusable tote, while my dad grumbled about the parking but kept pace. The Strip District was alive, stalls overflowing with produce, crafts, and oddities. We wandered through, my parents haggling over apples and handmade soaps, when I noticed a small stall tucked in an alley between two buildings. It wasn't like the others, no bright signs, no vendor shouting deals. Just a table draped in a tattered black cloth, piled with strange trinkets, old watches, cracked mirrors, and what looked like bones carved into shapes I couldn't quite make out. Behind the table stood a woman, old and hunched, her eyes milky and unblinking, staring right at me. I tried to steer my parents away, but my mom, always drawn to the unusual, was already at the stall, picking up a small, tarnished locket. "How much?" she asked. The woman didn't answer, just kept staring at me, her lips twitching like she was chewing on words she wouldn't say. My dad, sensing my unease, tugged at my mom's arm, but she bought the locket anyway, slipping the vendor a crumpled $10 bill. The woman's hand shot out, grabbing my mom's wrist, and whispered something I couldn't hear. My mom pulled away, laughing nervously, but her face was pale as we left the alley. That night, back at my apartment, things started to go wrong. My mom kept fidgeting with the locket, which she'd hung around her neck. She said it felt warm, like it was humming against her skin. My dad told her to take it off, but she wouldn't, her eyes distant, like she was listening to something we couldn't hear. Around midnight, I woke to a sound, a low, guttural scraping, like someone dragging a knife across stone. It was coming from the living room, where my parents were sleeping on a fold-out couch. I crept out of bed, my heart pounding, and found my mom standing in the dark, staring at the locket in her hands. The scraping was louder now, coming from inside the walls, and the air smelled wrong, like wet earth and something sickly sweet, like decay. "Mom," I whispered, but she didn't move. My dad stirred, sitting up, his face creased with worry. "She's been like this for an hour," he said, his voice low. "She won't talk." I reached for the locket, but when my fingers brushed it, a jolt shot through me, like I'd touched a live wire. The room seemed to tilt, the shadows stretching and twisting into shapes that didn't make sense. Long, claw-like fingers reaching from the corners. The scraping turned into whispers, dozens of voices overlapping, speaking in a language I didn't understand but felt in my bones, cold and ancient. I yanked the locket from my mom's neck, and she collapsed, gasping, like she'd been underwater. My dad caught her, his eyes wide with panic. The whispers stopped, but the air grew heavier, pressing down on us. I threw the locket into a drawer, slamming it shut, but the scraping started again, now from the ceiling, the floor, everywhere. My mom was trembling, muttering about a woman's voice telling her to open it, to let her in. My dad, practical to a fault, grabbed a hammer from my toolbox and smashed the locket, the metal twisting and sparking like it was alive. The whispers turned into a scream, sharp and piercing, then silence. We thought it was over, but the next day, the marketplace came to us. I woke to find my apartment door ajar, the smell of the market, grease, spices, and that same sickly decay, filling the room. My parents were already up, staring at the living room floor, where a pile of trinkets had appeared, cracked mirrors, rusted rings, and those carved bones, arranged in a perfect circle. My mom started crying, saying she could hear the woman from the stall, her voice inside her head, begging to be let in. My dad tried to sweep the trinkets into a trash bag, but they wouldn't move, like they were glued to the floor. That night, the woman came. I was dozing on the couch, my parents in my bed, when I heard the scraping again, now at the window. I looked out, and there she was, standing on the street below my second-floor apartment, her milky eyes locked on mine. Her mouth opened unnaturally wide, and the whispers poured out, not from her but from the air around me, the walls, my own head. "You took it," they said. "Give it back." I slammed the curtains shut, but the room grew cold, the shadows moving again, forming her shape, hunched, eyeless, her fingers stretching toward the drawer where the broken locket lay. I don't know how we survived the night. My dad burned the locket's remains in a metal bowl, the flames flaring green and foul-smelling, while my mom prayed, her voice hoarse. The whispers faded, but the trinkets were still there, unmovable, their carved symbols glowing faintly in the dark. We left at dawn, piling into my car with nothing but our clothes. My parents flew home the next day, refusing to talk about it, their faces aged with fear. I moved to a new apartment across the city, but I couldn't escape. The smell of the marketplace follows me, faint but constant, and sometimes in the quiet I hear that scraping, like nails on stone, coming from my walls. Worst of all, I found one of those carved bones in my pocket a week later, its surface warm, pulsing like a heartbeat. I threw it into the Allegheny River, but I still feel it, like it's burrowed into me. And at night, when I close my eyes, I see her, those milky eyes, that gaping mouth, waiting for me to let her in.